voice. Anyhow, so in yesterday's lecture, we have learned about we have revised the comfort properties of textile. Especially, we have revised this topic, which is the how to make the breathable textiles. These three methods we have seen yesterday. For the third time, we have revised this topic. That is about the types of breathable textiles, different membranes, and what are their advantages, disadvantages, how they are manufactured, and how it is incorporated inside the garment. Those things we have discussed. I hope people who have listened, they have understood this. Who are regularly attending, they have understood this. So till this membranes we have discussed. So today we will revise this biomimetics topic, which we have already learned during the last month lecture. So what is meant by biomimetics? Biomimetics means it is like copying a biological mechanism. Mimicry means what? Just imitating someone. So we are just imitating the biological mechanism. In biologically, there are various mechanisms are there throughout the world. So choosing some mechanisms for the development of a breathable textile, that is called biomimetics. There are several developments that have taken place in the waterproof breathable textiles. They are based on the biomimetics. Among them, there are three important effects. One is called the pine cone effect, and another is the transpiration within the leaf effect, and another is the lotus flower effect. So first we will see the pine cone effect. So what is this pine cone means? Pine cone, it is like a one where which is a humidity responsive and adaptive textile. So there is a plant that produces this pine cone. So that pine cone, if you see, uh, it behaves in a different way by reacting to the level of humidity. See, for example, during the summer season, when the temperature is very high, that time what we will do, we will perspire more. We will allow the heat. The body automatically releases the heat to make to remain in a cool and dry manner. So it will allow to release the heat. But whereas during the winter season, what the body do is the body want to retain the heat, because that time heat loss is not desirable. The heat retention is desirable. Okay. Similarly, here the pine cone is something which simulates that kind of an effect. So if you see this pine cone plant, uh, they normally will remain closed, but when this pine cone reacts to the moisture, reacts to the humidity, that time it will change its structure. If you see this pine cone during the cool and wet type of a climate, that time uh, the scales which are shown here, that will remain closed, so that it want to retain the heat, it do not want to lose the heat. But when the climate is changed from cool to hot, that times it will start opening so that it can release the heat. And when the climate is very hot, in that time it will completely open its structure, so that all the heat, most of the heat is passed through outside, so that it will remain cool. So human body, it behaves like a human body, that pine cone. So based on this pine cone plant, the textiles were developed which is a humidity responsive and adaptive textile which respond to different levels of humidity in the microclimate, so that the breathability improves. Okay, so this spine cone opens and closes its spines according to the change in the humidity. Similarly, textiles were developed fabrics based on the pine cone principle for the effective waterproof breathability. So it will closes to prevent moisture from getting in and opens when the air is drier. So that is the thing. So how this fabric is made? So the fabric consists of a two-layer fabric where the top layer consists of a tiny spikes of water absorbent material. Say for example wool. Wool has a very good absorption, and the surface level, if you see, they have a small spikes, and each is around 1 by 200 of the millimeter wide. And the lower, there is a top layer which is made up of a wool, and there is a lower layer that is made up of a material that is not porous. So here the thing is, when the person who is wearing a garment that is made up of this pine cone principle, and he is exposed to hot climate and he perspires, what will happen when he perspires? Automatically these spikes which are present on the surface, that will open up, that will react to the moisture, and then uh, so that air from the outside can get through the material to cool the wearer. But when the person stops perspiring, when the person is feeling cool, for example, if a person is wearing this garment which is made from this pine cone principle, he is sitting in the AC room. That time the temperature is he will not perspire in the AC room. So that kind of a situation, what will happen? The spikes will close, so that further air will not get inside, because the person is already cool and comfortable. So in that kind of situation, he does not want to further lose the heat. So that kind of a fabric is called the pine cone principle fabric, which is a biomimetic textile. So the first layer is a porous material, which is made up of a wool that contain tiny spikes, each of around say 100, 1 by 200 of the millimeter wide. And lower layer of the clothing is made up of a material that is not porous. So here, the thing is, the fabric will be both waterproof as well as it will be both waterproof as well as it will be comfortable in the sense it can easily allow the water vapor, that is the sweat vapor, to pass through. So it is both water repellent as well as it will have a very good moisture vapor transmission. So that is the understanding. So similar to this pine cone effect, a sports company which is called the Nike, which is a very popular type of a company, they have developed material similar to this pine cone effect that is called a Macroreact range, that has a fish scale pattern. You know very well the surface of the skin of the fish, if you have seen, there may be some scales. So this is also similar to the pine cone effect. This will open and close depending upon the change in the humidity. If the humidity is very high, in that case, the body undergoes a lot of sweating. That time it will open up to allow the sweat to go outside, and when the climate is cool, then at that time the scales will get closed. Okay, so this Macroreact is one of the range which the Nike has introduced, and this is a very popular type of a garment which is worn by the tennis player Maria Sharapova during the 2006 Wimbledon match. And recently, a company introduced a new responsive, lightweight type of a sportswear called a Aero React. This is also similar to the one which we have seen, the Macro React, that will react to the change in the body temperature. For example, if a person is involving in a very high activity, that time the body produces more sweat, so that the structure of the fabric will just open its pores so that it will allow the vapor to go out. And during the cool climate where the humidity is also lesser, that time it will the pores will remain closed. And here this aero react is something different, where the mechanism though it remains same, but how it works on the basis of the same mechanism, but the garment is made up of bicomponent yarn. You know very well what is a bicomponent fiber. There will be a core, there will be a sheath. Core material is for the strength and sheath material is for the surface properties. So that, yeah, bicomponent type of a yarn is used to manufacture this aero react type of a sportswear, so that it will respond to the humidity. So you can see here, this is the 2006 uh, garment which she is wearing is based on the fish scale pattern that respond to the humidity. There were other developments also based on this uh, humidity responsive textiles. One of the development is the done by a company called Inotech company. They have developed the same type of a aero react range type of a sportswear, where it is made up of a bicomponent yarn, where the core is made up of a polypropylene. You know very well what is a polypropylene fiber and what properties it has. It is a very inert type of a fiber which has no moisture regain, and even under the high humidity conditions it doesn't going to react. But the sheath, that is a cover, that is a surface material, it is made up of a nylon 6 fiber. You know very well nylon 6 and 66, what is the difference? Nylon 66 is more amorphous and nylon 66 is more crystalline. So the nylon 6 fiber, you know very well, because of the amorphous property, it has more moisture regain. Also, moisture regain is around 4.5%, even at a relative humidity of 98%. So you know very well this nylon fiber, when it is absorbs water, it will swell. So that this bicomponent fiber also, depending upon the relative humidity, can react, so that the moisture vapor transmission can be very easy because of the presence of this nylon fiber. And you know very well about polypropylene. Polypropylene fiber has a very good transmission properties. If you see the wicking of though polypropylene is a very hydrophobic fiber, but the capillaries which are present in the fiber, it is very small, so that through the capillaries the sweat can easily go out. Okay, so this core sheath type of a structure of the yarn, that is used to make the garment. So because of that, the person who is doing a high activity like a sports or any kind of higher activity, in that situation it will respond to the humidity. When the humidity is very high, the time the person undergoes perspiration, so that perspiration vapor can easily go out. And when the humidity is less, the person feels comfortable, that time the structure will remain closer. So that is the thing. So this nylon 6 is kept mainly to absorb the vapor. Okay, so and this polypropylene is for transmitting the vapor, that is through the capillary action it will transmit the vapor outside. So that is how it works. And if you see uh, this particular Inotech fiber, uh, it will, when the humidity is there, that time what will happen, it get curls, it will curl. And when the humidity is less, it will uncurl. Okay, so that is why when this Inotech fiber, which is a bicomponent fiber, when it is made into spun into yarn, the when the humidity, depending upon the change in the humidity, uh, it will uh, it will change its curling behavior. Okay, so that is about the Inotech fiber, which is a humidity responsive textile. Next is the another effect called transpiration within a leaf effect. You know very well, plants also, when you during the climatic change, that also undergoes respiration, and that also have a process called a transpiration. Like we for us there is a respiration process. Similarly, plant have a different process called a transpiration. It is a process that involves the loss of water vapor through the stomata of plants. Okay, so if you see, when the climate is very hot, that time what will happen, the water vapor from the plant is released. When the climate is very hot, what will happen, it would like to release the heat from the body. The plant also release the heat from the body, and so whatever water that is present in the stem or roots, that will get pulled upwards through the plant, and it will get released when the climate is very hot. But when the plant is dry, there is no one has put water to the plant, that time what will happen, the plant has certain cells present which is called the mesophyll. So those cells release a hormone called abscisic acid that will actually close down the pores of the plant, so that further release of loss of water is prevented. So that what will happen, it will not get dry further, because already it is without water. That time if it still loses the water, what will happen, the plant will die. Okay, so that is the reason you see, if you observe the structure of a plant by using the microscope, how the water, whatever you have poured the water to the plant, how those water goes out when it respires, say when it intakes the oxygen and releases, when it intakes the carbon dioxide and releases the carbon oxygen, that time how those transpiration process take place, it take place because of the presence of the capillaries which are present in the stem. Through this capillaries, this water will go out, okay, through this cells. So here, this also behaves similar to the pine cone effect. Pine cone effect we saw with the respect to the humidity, heat. Same thing here also. When the water is much higher during the hot climate, it can easily lose the water vapor very fast. It will lose the heat through the water vapor. Sweat vapor can be released. So here the water, whatever is there in the root or stem, that can go away, so that it can release the oxygen and inhale the carbon dioxide. But during when the climate is cool and wet, that time it will try to retain more. So that time it will not lose the water. But when the water availability itself is very less in the stem or the root, that time it will try to not to lose the heat further. Okay, so that is how the plants work. So similar effect can be mimicked to make a textile material. That is called the uh, transpiration effect, which is observed in the plant. Similar effect can be done by the for the textile material. If you see, there is a company called Axo Nobel. That company developed a fabric which is made up of a rubber fabric, which is a neoprene fabric. This neoprene fabric is a two-layer fabric, which you can see here. This contains a neoprene, and along with that, there is a foam insulation. So here, this neoprene fabric contains small domes present here. Okay, so this domes is nothing but like a small cavity which is present here. This cavity, it is similar to the leaf. in leaves, you can see the guard cells which are present here. This stoma, which is shown here, which is in the open position. The black color which shows the open position, and here is the stoma is in the closed position. So similarly, here also this domes are function similar to the stoma, so that it will allow the controlled release of the water vapor. Okay, so that the person who is wearing this garment will feel comfortable. Okay, so this Axo Nobel, they produce this Stomatex fabric. This is based on the transpiration effect. So I will just show you a small video which you have already seen. So once again, you see it for your better understanding how this Stomatex fabric works.
Serious problems with retention of heat and sweat. Traditional closed-cell foam materials have the benefit of providing compressive support. However, heat retention causes elevated skin temperature, increased sweating, and subsequently discomfort. Open-cell foam materials absorb sweat and moisture, becoming cold, clammy, and unhygienic. Closed-cell foam materials do not absorb sweat. However, they inhibit evaporation from the skin's surface, causing a rapid rise in skin temperature and moisture retention. Attempts to solve this problem have included ventilating the material with perforations. This allows sweat to evaporate. However, sweat cannot escape from those areas in between. Nature has provided the answer in the way that leaf plants remove water by a process known as transpiration. Within the surface of the leaf are numerous tiny structures known as stomata. These stomata regulate the hydrodynamic fluid system of the plant, acting as the control apparatus, releasing water vapor in order to maintain the correct moisture level within the leaf. Stomatex, a biomimetic material, imitates the natural process of transpiration. As body movement occurs, the material stretches and deforms, dynamically expelling vaporous sweat from above the skin's surface to the outside of the material. As well as extending the wear characteristics of closed-cell foam products, Stomatex reduces peripheral vasodilation, allowing improved blood flow in deeper tissues. This unique action enables Stomatex to maintain a balanced thermophysiological environment. As the level of activity increases, so does the metabolic rate. Stomatex responds by increasing its ability to actively pump heat and sweat away from the body, thereby maintaining comfort and skin compatibility over extended periods of use. Stomatex has a vast range of diverse applications. Training is used by elite international sportsmen such as Lennox Lewis and Daley Thompson. Orthomedical supports, which can now be comfortably worn for extended periods. This is particularly important in injury rehabilitation and where the product is used to maintain body temperature. Stomatex has achieved outstanding results in one of the most difficult environments, footwear, successfully achieving a balance between comfort, durability, and protection. Stomatex was the chosen fabric of Will Carling and the England rugby squad during acclimatization training prior to the World Cup in South Africa's heat. Similar suits were used by the British hockey squad and Tessa Thompson prior to the Atlanta Olympics. The British four-man bobsleigh team, Britain's only medal winners at the Winter Olympics at Lugano, completed their fitness training in Stomatex suits. The applications for a material with such diverse properties is almost limitless, and appropriately for this time, Stomatex has been chosen by the Department of Trade and Industry as one of their outstanding Millennium products. Stomatex multi-dimensional fabric technology for the future, for everyone.
I hope you have enjoyed this video. So this Stomatex fabric, as you have seen, it contains two layers. One is the foam insulation and another is the neoprene fabric, which contains domes present. So the person, when he is doing any high activity, that time whatever sweat that is released, that will penetrate inside these domes, but not through the other points. So only the domes, wherever it is present, through that point only the sweat will go. So this is used in such so that for sports people, whether if you're doing a swimming or a motorcycling race or a jogging, any kind of a cycling activity, the time the person wears a garment, sports garment, in such a way that that will fit to the body along the knees and the legs, so that it will fit to the shape of the body contours. That is why this rubber is used, which is a neoprene. So this is one of the biomimetics, which is a stomatex. Next is the lotus flower effect. So this lotus flower effect is a very common phenomenon, which you may have also seen. The lotus leaf, how it looks like. In lotus leaf, if you pour down the water, what will happen? It will not get absorbed. It will just roll. You can see the picture of a lotus leaf. Why that structure of the what is there in the structure of the lotus leaf? If you see the structure of the lotus leaf, it contains some micro scales present. So those micro scales, if you see, those micro scales have hydrophobic surface because of the presence of the natural hydrocarbons. Those structure of the leaf contains this micro scales, and those scales are rich in the hydrocarbons, so that those have repulsion to the water. It will not absorb the water, it will repel the water. Then this lotus flower is one of the effect which is interesting. So based on this effect also, we can manufacture a textile material similarly, which is both water repellent as well as it is able to transmit the water vapor. So there is a Japanese company called Teijin, which developed this type of a lotus flower effect called super microft, that will work like a lotus leaf. So the super microft, what it is made up of? It is made up of the highly water repellent fabric made up of the polyester fiber. So this fabric, if you see, it has both the property. One is the moisture vapor transmission for the comfort, and another is the waterproofness, similar to the lotus leaf. So this is one of the example. And if you see how it works, the two yarns, if you see how this microft fabric is produced, there are two yarns you can see in this structure. Those two yarns, one is a low shrinkage fine linear yarn and another is a high shrinkage yarn. These two yarns are actually made, combined and then textured together, so that what will happen after you do the texturing, it will form a structure similar to the scales present in the lotus leaf. You can see the scales which are present in the lotus leaf, some small humps you are seeing here. When you see in the microscope, you can see the small humps. Similarly, here also these two yarns are processed in such a way that you introduce a structure similar to the lotus leaf. Okay, so here these small humps are introduced by a process by combining the low shrinkage yarn and the high shrinkage yarn, so that once they are combined together and twisted and dyed, what will happen? It will form the high shrinkage yarn will shrink, and low shrinkage yarn will actually form some crimps over this, so that what will happen when this fabric, it is if you pour the water droplet, what will happen is this gaps between this two clamps which you are seeing here, that will be very small. Okay, through that gap only air can pass through, but the water droplet size will be that the air layer between the water droplet and the microscope ruggedness, it will realize the excellent water repellency. But whereas if you make a conventional structure by combining a two low shrinkage ions or a two high shrinkage ions, that time you will not get this kind of a micro loops cannot be formed. Okay, because of the formation of the micro loops, that micro loops helps for the vapor transmission, but it will not allow the water droplet to penetrate inside. Okay, so it is a very interesting technology, and the super microft is the technology which use the polyester yarns by a low shrinkage polyester and a high shrinkage polyester, and combining them, twisting them, texturizing them, dyeing them, so that you get a Lotus effect. Okay, so if you see, there are many applications of waterproof breathable fabrics. You can use it for leisure purpose also, and for work purpose also. There are a number of applications. I do not want to read this. You can read them. So that's all about the biomimetics. Okay, so we have already discussed about the other membranes extensively in the previous lecture, like hydrophilic membrane, microporous membrane, hydrophilic coating, microporous coating, then how to incorporate those membranes in the fabric to make the garment. And we have also seen the biomimetics today, the pine cone effect, Stomatex, then lotus flower effect, those things we have seen. So this is for that first uh, first part